Today we're creating an Afro House groove from scratch. It's really important that you get your T. How about let's start with the drums today. I'm going to create a MIDI track for that and group that into a channel right away. Call this one chord drums, and we're going to load up a drum rack so we make sure we select a few kicks that we can work with straight from the start. And I'm going to use one of the packs that I've created previously because I know there's a nice little kick in here that is really soft. And if you want to make Afro House, you want to make sure you choose kicks that are really soft. Kind of like this one. Has a bit of a transient, might be a bit too aggressive. Let's see. Yeah, this one's nice. Gonna take this one too, and also gonna move into my other kick pack because I have a kick called Afro House here. Take that one in too. So then we're gonna create a MIDI clip, head into 4th bar mode on the fixed grid and draw on our kick. And let's see if Afro House works. There we go. Let's set our tempo to 119 first. Cheers. So instead of the usual kick, hi-hat, clap, we are going to first rename this guy into kick. We're going to create a MIDI track outside of our core drums channel and group that into, let's call it loops/perc. And we are going to look for a tonal sound now. And I know I have a few in Azar, so let's dive in there. This one is really nice. Gonna make sure it starts on the 1, and we're gonna shorten the sound down. So we're gonna reduce decay and sustain to, let's not make it that short. Around here is fine, I would say. And do the same. We're gonna create a MIDI clip now. Maybe reduce the volume a bit more. And now we are going to draw in a groove that sounds somewhat like this. We want that da-da-da-da. There we go. We are going to create a bit of rhythmic variation. So we want maybe the second one to be a bit softer than the first one. So we're going to reduce the velocity down here. Or maybe the other way around. Let's actually reduce this guy here and crank this one up. Yeah, I like it the other way around more. Let's delete these and take this guy and duplicate that one again. Take this section, duplicate that one. There we go. So now we have an up and down jump in velocity. And now I'm going to increase the decay and sustain until I like the sound. Going to add a low cut so we don't have any low end mud here. And what I'm going to do now is create a resonant boost. Basically crank this guy up, and to reduce or change the Q value, you can hit Alt. You can see, and it just creates this really nice little slump here. So there we have the root note of this little tonal percussion. So we have that classic dun 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 that you often hear in Afro House. And what I'm going to do now is then add in a hi-hat. So I'm going to create a MIDI layer underneath the kick, Control-Shift-M, and add in those hats. I'm going to choose some closed hi-hats for this. Maybe this one here. Let's just add it in first. Double click and add the classic 8th note hi-hat rhythm. Perfect. Let's duplicate this guy. Duplicate it again. Remove these. Let's create some more rhythmic variation to this little percussion sound over here. You can do so by automating the sustain parameter over here. So I'm going to do this manually. I'm going to right click and head into, let's go for 8th bar. And click on sustain here so we make sure we automate this guy over here. And you could either hit this button or hit A to enter automation mode. Let's highlight this selection over here, right click, and change it to, let's make it a wave. And then we can slightly change the values here so it's not as extreme, something like this. Copy this section here, maybe change the values here. Take this section, duplicate it over. We can duplicate this here, and then let's copy the complete automation, see if we can apply it to the decay. So we're going to plus this guy. So we move it into a new automation layer, and we can mess around with the decay while still seeing our sustain automation here. So now we're going to right click and paste. Pretty cool little rhythmic texture that we got going, but I just want this first little half here. I'm going to duplicate it. So this is our decay automation. And to add a bit more movement to the sound, we're going to add an auto pan. Awesome. And a bit more movement. We can add a phaser or flanger. You can find that in audio effects under pitch and modulation. Add that one here. After the auto pan, just going to mess around with a few parameters, see which one I like the most. Add that before the auto pan. Awesome. And the cool thing about this is that we can duplicate this layer over here. So we have this percussion in another separate channel over here. We can hit right click, show in browser, and replace it with a completely different percussion sound, like this one. Maybe this one. Could re-enable both of them and maybe just readjust this guy here so it plays on a different timing. So I just hit right once on my little keyboard here. Maybe twice. We're creating additions to our groove, but I don't like the phaser flanger on this, so I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to duplicate this groove again and right click, show in browser, replace it again. Take this groove and move it to the right once again. And I'm on 16th, so I'm moving them all 1/16th. Play it again. I'm going to actually take away the phaser flanger. It's good in some cases, but I don't like it here. Awesome. Let's continue with the core drums group here by creating a new audio track this time. Name this guy hat and rename this guy clap. And now we're going to look for a nice little clap sound. I'm going to use Azar for that as well. Can take a few sounds and just drag them here. So every second kick should be a clap. Let's reduce the volume here. Cool. Let's shorten it out a bit. Like this, maybe just adjust the timing. So since we're on grid now, we can't really freely move it around. That's why I'm going to hit Alt. Instead of right clicking, changing the grid all the time, we could just hit Alt and then snap it to the grid like this. Keep our little grid here. Excuse me. Maybe shorten it out even a bit more using this fade here. Yeah, that sounds kind of cool. Let's take this guy and duplicate him over here. Cool, cool, cool. Take it again, and reduce the volume more. Let's create a new audio track underneath that clap and see if we can find another clap that sounds slightly different. This one's kind of interesting. Let's drag it in here. Again, do the same, hit Alt and just drag it to the position where I want it to be. Reduce the volume. Let's play that together, see how it sounds. It sounds a bit fuller, I would say. Let's duplicate this section over here and see how it sounds again. Yeah, let's reduce the volume of the first clap, maybe make the second one a bit louder here. Yeah, let's just go with this little clap groove. Group these guys up, call them claps. And in order to make claps a bit more quiet, because they're a very short and loud signal, we're going to use a compressor. We're going to use the glue compressor from Ableton Live and just reduce the threshold. Perfect. So we glue them together. And what I'd like to do from here on is create a little tom groove. So I'm going to create a MIDI track for that underneath the loops and percussion. I'm going to group that into a channel, call it bass. And in this MIDI channel, we're going to add in some toms like this one. Let's just try it out. Doesn't need to be complex, just one little note every few bars that is well placed will do the job. Let's duplicate this tom layer. Do the same thing as we did previously for the percussion. Right click this guy, show in browser, there we have it, and replace it with another sound. We just replace this one. Replace these notes. Maybe just like this. Find the right spot for them. That's awesome. Let's duplicate that over. And now I'm going to repitch this first little percussion sound that we created in the beginning by heading to controls. I'm going to manually repitch it here to fit the tom groove. And change the resonant frequency as well. pan this percussion to the left maybe. This one to the right. Now I am going to add in some classic African Afro House percussion. And what I'm going to do for this is create a new MIDI track, group this guy here, and look for any type of instrument. I'm going to use Contact for this, and let's go for West Africa, percussion ensemble. I'm not an expert on African instruments, but I'm just going to drag this one in and see if we can make something interesting out of that. This one sounds kind of cool, actually. And then we're just going to play along, hit record. Reduce the volume a bit. Create an audio track underneath this contact group, and we're going to call this guy Afro Perk, and we're going to take the audio from Afro Perk and resample it into a new layer. Hit record on the new layer, record, let it run through. Okay, so it does sound really random. This is why we're going to chop it up. Mute the first layer and pay attention to spots in the groove that I like. Remember, this one sounded kind of cool here. Maybe just take this section over here, create a new audio track, drag that down here, and just paste it over here, maybe like that. So mute the first layer, just the first half. Just like that. And we can now slightly pitch it down. First hit doesn't sound too on grid, so you see this would be the grid. It hits a bit early, so what we're going to do is double click the sound and go into 16th, set a warp marker here, take this warp marker and pull it slightly, so now it's on grid. And this adds to our existing little groove. I like it. Make sure to take out the low end here. And now let's create a new audio track and look for more sections that we like. I like this guy here. This one's really nice. This one's cool. So I kind of like this one, but the hits are all completely off grid. So what we're going to do is head inside here, hit Control Shift U, quantize to 16th, and now replaces our notes. There we go. Now they're all quantized to the grid. So these are the hits that I like the most. I like this one too. Double click, Control Shift U, quantize to 16th, amount 100, apply. Cool. And do the same for these guys here too. Remove this section, double click, Control Shift U. Yeah, take this guy, do the same. Cool, so now I just mess around with the placement, make sure the groove is filled out evenly. Kind of want this hit to be a bit later. Create a transition point here. Remove the low end off of these sounds. What I'm going to do is take the auto pan from this layer and put it also on top of this layer, so we have a bit more movement in the sound. More panning. Maybe add a bit of delay. Let's go for a dotted 8th note delay. Maybe this works. Ping pong. Reduce the feedback. Dry wet. Cool. So now we can delete the original instrument that we've used. Let's rename this one Low Afro. Let's call this one High Afro. So we've resampled two grooves that sound really tight on grid from a groove that was originally played completely random. Sneezing like crazy today. And I'm gonna head on to Splice and look for a African vocal. Sounds kind of like that Skrillex song, Senna. Okay. Let's give it a go. Okay. Damn, that ain't too bad. Add some delay on top, ping pong it. Okay. add like a bandpass filter here, like a telephone effect or something like that. Let's go through a few samples. Maybe add like a market in the background. Yeah, let's take the African market here, put it here. Now we're going to take an LFO tool, add that to the marketplace sounds, creates a bit of groove to it. Now we could perhaps add some atmosphere. Perhaps this little pad sound or something like that. Copy the LFO, put it here too. And to make it a bit more interesting, I'm going to add some offbeat claps as well. I'm going to create a new MIDI track underneath the clap layer like this and go into our clap sounds, right click, show in browser. I'm going to add this clap again to a MIDI track here. Select this little region here and create those interesting Afro House claps. Let's reduce the volume therefore. Now let's choose a different sound. Reduce sustain and decay. Let's see. Yeah, this one's cool. Reduce velocity. Copy this one over like this. And now find the right sound. Reduce volume and put it just every few bars. Like that. Choose a different clap. Sounds about right. Okay, let's give this groove a playthrough. Alright, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also grab these sounds using the links down below. See you in the next video. Cheers.